Hey, how's it going? So, I'm looking through a brief clip that's got interference, but of the U of O football team. We're about to play the Grizz. I chew it, I gnaw on it. It's my fun indulgence being a tobacco chewer, the chew churros. So I look forward to the non-conference game and some University of Oregon exemplary student athletic performance. And I'm thinking about what some of the announcers are talking about, the proverbial thorn in our paw or whatnot in many seasons of the Pac-12 conference meetings of the University of Oregon and Stanford. And I'm thinking of like funny memes or something, thinking in my head like making a joke about the wood chipper from that movie Fargo, of somebody in Fargo, North Dakota that was putting people in a wood chipper, like literally, so not good. But figuratively of the Stanford mascot, the tree. And, you know, like thinking of football and fun ways to be sportsmanlike and take out frustrations and stuff. And I'm like, yeah, the idea, like maybe put together a meme or something like that. And it can happen visually, that it can get sort of mimicked or otherwise. My interaction with the broadcast could make, I used to do this when I was a kid. Math in the mind's eye, one of my instructors in K-12 used to talk about it. But so visual communication or whatnot in the broadcast and my brain-computer interface, I'm thinking about like a Fargo wood chipper reference, but to the mascot of Stanford, who's, you know, been keeping us from championship and Pac-12 dominance for too many contests. And I'm thinking, oh, isn't that funny? Like, well, you know, put the have the Oregon Duck putting the Stanford tree into a wood chipper and making a joke about it being in Fargo, like snow on the ground or something like that. And when I'm like looking out the window. I'm not like looking at. Sometimes I sort of lock eyes and sometimes even share consciousness. The mimicry is not as satanic as I would have been led to believe. Some is, but thinking about a joke about like the U of O duck grabbing the Stanford tree and putting him in a wood chipper as taunting before a football game, and good fun for fans, students, alumni alike. Anyways, thinking about how funny that would be, like Fargo movie reference, a wood chipper getting ready to play Stanford again. And it dawned on me how not funny this other connotation of this war that I'm in. So in the fight between good and evil, if you made sure to omit all of electromagnetic form perpetrating, lessons learned from World War II, and other criteria that were specifically attacked allegedly from perps on my R&M, out of like protocol of like CIA mission statements of like being able to deny that any of this is going on. I read the Stanford Plato definition of evil to sociopaths, psychopaths, and narcissists with headgear when I was living on the east side, maybe 2016, 2017 in Portland. And they bragged about it recently that they allegedly made an EMF perp in the form of the original professor who wrote this exhaustive definition of the one-word use evil to specifically take themselves out of the definition of evil. Now, in the battle between good and evil, if you find yourself omitted and are evil incarnate, you have won. And so I started thinking about that rather than the funny meme. And I wrote the philosophy department at Stanford on a shadow banned Twitter account and let them know that their definition of evil on their department's website, not only that was attacked, but they tried to, and may have successfully, altered the original definition in the form of the professor who wrote it, and it really wasn't the professor, to omit all of the evil that is electromagnetic frequency broadcasts, torture, terrorism, Satanism, war crime, crime against creation, and crimes against humanity, so that they couldn't be detected or caught or otherwise considered. And what is evil? And when you are fighting a battle between good and evil, wouldn't you really spend a lot of time defining what the fuck that word means? So I got checked in that. I don't know if it's quite checkmate, but making funny memes about Stanford mascots and a wood chipper in anticipation of a football game is a woeful distraction from that victory from this perp gang that may have broken into Stanford, deep captured it to alter the definition of evil out of one of the best definitions I have ever read in my entire life, because they observed my R&M and were working in 180 degrees against me and secretly have no repercussions, only fake that there are with few word nonsense. And so where would the FBI be in this? In the alphabet soup agency, working opposed to maybe elements of the CIA that would be interested in something like that? I don't know. Fucking raping people are remote, like, sorry, misdirected anger, not productive. I solved the problem of the rectal torture myself, but it's time to not consider me as like a TI, or at least an enemy of the state, like black hearts flip, and this is all against the Constitution, you guys know that. I deserve a Constitution and a Bill of Rights. Quit trying to gin up conflict. Shelved plans that come out of nowhere. Some of those people want to like continue with like slow kill genocide and get all... I was insulting people who can't die because they're EMF perps. I don't know the socialization process of disciplining psychopaths. I didn't work in the overt military. I'm outmatched by the full force of the US government at speed of thought. I'm a slave of the worst kind. And so I reported that. And I don't have an EMF perp gang to go back to Stanford, fix all that shit. I mean, it's not a checkmate, but that's a pretty big check there in a battle between good and evil. So this is my eyeball. If you concocted the whole reality itself, and you knew it was always billions to one, an illusion anyways, you may see a passing glance of a hazel look and know even past the artificial intelligence of Earth or even the moon or something like that. Like, oh, that's so and so and so and so. Hazel! And it's got some brown tints to it. Sort of changes maybe a little bit, or my interpretation of the color of my eyes. Had an EMF perp show up as somebody that I knew in my past, roughly, and they were using the technology to fake the person's form off of a Valencia Instagram photo, and the person had like darker skin than they normally would have, and a white woman. Stuff like that. So my life sucks. So my southern affected faked is what I mean by that voice of sweet tea. There was a perp gang that showed up in like Oregon City that wanted to call him T-Sweet because, they're trying to take over Wonk Life, or have, and they're all thugs. But there are a lot of connotations and ways to look at my impersonation of NLP use, but a voice from the South, my ancestors, fought against slavery and had allies in the South, and things like the Underground Railroad and whatnot in the fine state of Ohio. And who do I really look like to you right now? So much haze, huh? Or other notables on my Instagram of about 4 men that I'm related to. Christian genome. And fake people problems are destroying the quality of the human condition for no good reasons. Shit, that just make up reason to fucking torture. I get people calling hits out on me because they think like they're being misled in such ways. I am naive, innocent, didn't understand. I'm related to Rutherford B. Hayes. Allegedly, also Charlemagne. 3 horsemen taken in by a young tribe looked down upon. Johnny L. Sullivan, my wonderful grandpa, an Irish immigrant, homesteader in Butte, Montana family, mortgaged their house to send him to medical school. A Renaissance man, owned a hospital, was a lieutenant colonel, loved cherry tobacco, classical music, Shakespeare, general practitioner, medicine, golf. 1 Rolls Royce was enough, not a fleet of 30. Sort of inside-outside joke for people from Oregon about a bodhisattva that showed up in Central Oregon after writing a book, and things got way out of hand. Let's say that understatement. They thought it was God or something. More like or something, but maybe didn't have such ill intent. But what creeps around you when you sort of turn on your light? Anyhow, inside-outside joke about the Rajneeshis in Oregon, who started poisoning public officials because, I don't know all the reasons, but a man that I respected was like Attorney General at the time that I worked with later on in his career, a man named Dave Frohnmeyer, trying to maintain civility during some difficult times for Oregon. Yeah, this guy, the Rajneeshi guy, wrote a book and had all this weird shit go down, and had like 15 or 20 Rolls Royces. I mean, my grandpa delivered people's babies paid in chickens, and people would fall all over themselves when they would see Dr. Skelly in admiration and appreciation of his virtue. And one Rolls Royce is enough there. Sort of maybe some jokes for people that have observed my R&M. Genius usually skips a generation. My dad is an extremely smart man and a good man, but my grandfather was the genius and served on the board of medicine, and I served on the board of higher ed before it got sacked. And it's okay, like there's more. I wrote a piece about it that, I was angry at the time or something like that. Ed Ray, who I hired, was talking about, the only focus on football or whatnot. More local boards for local trustees for every one of our 7 precious institutions offers more opportunity for leadership. There's more board members, and that's often very good. I mean, you may want to limit your number of people making decisions on each individual board, but that's, in the past, sort of reminiscing on my life or what I would have done unless, I became a deep state target. I may find myself sitting on one of those boards today. I had a great, wonderful peer of mine in my student activism who didn't get driven crazy, thankfully, serves on the board of Clackamas Community College, where I went back to and wrote for their student newspaper. And perps that were perping me in my R&M and torturing me violated the brain space of a 2-degree wonderful two master's degree holding wonderful instructor named Melissa. She thought it was God the first time she heard the voice of God technology into her head. At least one of those times when I was going back to school. And so I got a chance to sort of work on the student paper, learn a little bit more about journalism. And my old buddy was on the board of trustees for that school. And so that's like an old Blue Oregon article that I wrote before Kari shut his blog down. I wonder if they perped Kari to silence, or he just got tired of running Blue Oregon as a blog. But I can't really watch regular media because it gets faked around me for fake news to ruin the human condition, among other criteria. I had a incident here where there was a hole, or like a, in my, I'll show you the thing here. So I had to tape it because inside there's lead, and lead can poison you. But there was like a line. It had been cut. I think I maybe folded it or was sabotaged. My lead apron to avoid internal organ damage and shit like that. Don't want to get lead poisoning, but I had to go in and tape the lead back together inside of this because it was slit right down the middle, and I haven't quite been able to afford all the gear I want. After talking about it for a year for other target individuals, you get if you're your brain's distracted every 15 to 20 seconds. So, and then I'm kept poor. Like, it's been 3 months trying to, maybe more than that, trying to switch over a payee. Like, the world's being manipulated to be slowed down and fucked with around me for maximum torture while pretending like they're not going to be able to get caught. So, well, it sucks, but I can't emphasize enough. And all of these distractions and all of this deception, if this perp gang broke into Stanford and did what they bragged that they said they did to change the definition of evil to like omit EMF perping from it entirely and all the lessons learned from World War II, then I wouldn't call it checkmate, but I'm a lot less happy about figuratively putting the Stanford mascot and a wood chipper from Fargo in some meme fun before we take the field of battle in college football. It's a lot less savory, my jokes about the upcoming game with Stanford, knowing what I think I know about what really happened behind the ability of people at Stanford who work there to perceive it. So maybe don't beat Stanford in that regard. And they already did, allegedly. And all of you too, and me, everybody in the world. The electromagnetic frequency has structural advantages. Like, these people torturing me can't be killed here.